James Kaufman, World News Report today, July 31st, 2024. God bless you and yours, no matter where you are in the world. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell for critical future updates. Taking a look at Earth's electromagnetic field, we see that it's been impacted heavily today. Earlier today, before 1400 UTC time, I'd say right around 12 to 1300 UTC time. And this was some impact. It went off the charts at 16 hertz. Now, you might think that this is space weather related, but it's not going to be. It's going to be related to lightning in our low atmosphere. Why is this occurring on the same day that we were supposed to have heavy space weather? Well, in fact, we're not having any space weather. See my earlier video. Now, when we see our electromagnetic shield going off the charts there at 1600 hertz, we can just assume our Schumann resonance is doing something similar. Here we have spikes that are off the chart at 105 hertz. You can see them happening for at least an hour and a half here. And we're still in an event, if you will. You can see how hard the geophones are being hit up here. And ladies and gentlemen, how can this possibly be happening with the space weather? Well, our shields are down. There is no space weather, and there hasn't been any space weather as predicted. Looking at a 6-day comparison of our Schumann resonance, each day cut up into 6-hour portions, we can see that we've actually been experiencing spiking of our Schumann resonance for about 6 hours, maybe 5.5 hours. A lot of that is off the charts. These charts only go up to 50 hertz, i.e. the Schumann resonance was never measured over 37 hertz until 2017, when I believe we started to lose our upper atmosphere. Now, I do know that our shields are quote-unquote down, and our E and F regions of our atmosphere that protect us against space weather are not up because we're not being hit by space weather. Over to our hourly geophone stripes. These used to really tell the tale and show how our geophones, one of the most important indicators, were being hit by the agitator. In this instance, it's going to be lightning over the modeling station. But in fact, these haven't been working for some time. I do believe it's because they're covered in snow. Most of your ULF, ELF sensors or antennas where our geophones are actually on the ground, and there's heavy snow in this area where our Italian modeling station is. We do see some areas that are trying to show heavy spiking here, but this used to be a much better model than it is now, and it'll probably become better as that snow melts. Now, this is definitely a real event. I have checked on the agitator already. This started right around 11 UTC time. You can see the ULF noise, the ultra low frequency noise, shoot off the charts. Really no telling how high it went. It's one of the bigger spikes you'll see with it. The ELF following it. And what happens with our second SR frequency is it dips when we're in event mode. Now we see the geophones reacting slightly, but usually that's our best indicator. Again, I believe that they're covered in snow. They really haven't reacted on the amplitude model for some time, and we saw the hourly strips also not lighting up as they did, well, previously. Now, what's going on here, James? Well, we're having thunderstorms all around, if not on top of our modeling agency, which is located somewhere in this area here. You can see a thunderstorm very close there. And you can see the snow on the ground in several places here. We'll zoom in and see if we can get y'all to the modeling station. It's going to be a lot closer to this thunderstorm than I first anticipated. And as we zoom in, there is our modeling station just being passed by that thunderstorm. So we can see exactly what our agitator is. It's that lightning strike right there and all the other lightning strikes in this area. Again, this is the foothills of the Swiss Alps, and it's just, well, west-southwest of Turin, a larger city in Italy. Now I'm going to bring y'all to the Discover satellite and show y'all a few things. First off, our shields are down here in pink. Our heavy spiking went from about 11:30 here UTC time to about 1400 here UTC time. You can see that we had a slight impact, 12.62 centimeters cubed of plasma, 10 centimeters cubed being the space weather threshold. This didn't even register as a disturbance on the KP index. You can also see the winds pushed right in front of that impact, if we can call it that. Most of the day, plasma is at 0. This is not anything wrong with the system. This is where plasma was at, period. I.e., you can see that there's nothing going on up here and that our shields are down. Now, we had a very light impact. I have a hard time calling it a coronal mass ejection impact. They were expecting, plasma at about 70 plus centimeters cubed, not 12. And we haven't seen anything like that. Most of the spiking has happened here. We had a brief period where we didn't have as heavy spiking, and now we're back in on and off territory. Now, we also don't have any real solar winds. We can't really call 475 kilometers per second impact of any sort. We would have to be up in the 600 kilometer per second, which is what was predicted, along with the 75 centimeters cubed of plasma. So thus far through the day, we have seen no solar activity, even though we were looking for a 1, 2, 3 punch cannibal see me yesterday, a G3 geomagnetic storm today, and a G2 geomagnetic storm tomorrow. Really, none of it has panned out, period. Now, this is a brief visual of what's going on. First off, we have lightning, the agitator, in our troposphere, and it used to bounce off the F or E layer. There's F1, F2, E1, E2 layers. Those layers are down if we're not being hit with space weather. We'll never see heavy space weather and the Schumann resonance happen at the same time. What's happening is the lightning is bouncing off our lowest layer right here, our D layer. So our agitator lightning is bouncing off a much lower level than it used to or usually does, because there is no shields up at this point, no E or F layer up. And since it's bouncing off a much lower level, it's returning to the ground to hit the sensors with much more velocity and strength, and thus the spiking of the Schumann resonance increasing every year as our atmosphere, dissipates or disappears. And after reading any papers on this, I believe this is because our poles are in their cyclical pole flip, or our magnetic poles are currently flipping. We saw the Schumann resonance take off right when the poles started moving about 7 years ago in 2017, and those Schumann resonance spikes have increased ever since then, every year, because our atmosphere is depleting. Now, I know a lot of people think that we're ascending because of these higher frequencies and vibrations, and mathematically we should be. If you look at the M string theory of everything, superstring theory, they would all state that the higher your vibration frequency, the higher your dimension. But in fact, I do not see any ascension when I look around at the world's people. I see just the opposite, and do believe that these spikes are instead being caused by our atmosphere dissipating. Now, that doesn't mean that these spikes won't affect you. Obviously, we're seeing much higher frequencies and vibrations than our resting vibration of 7.83 hertz, known as Mother Earth's heartbeat. Also, our brain waves heartbeat. Also, well, all living things vibrate at 7.83. Now, I have seen studies where increased Schumann resonances up to about 15 hertz are both physically and cognitively positive situation, as long as the animal or human is allowed to return to resting state 7.83 or lower so that they can regenerate. With that said, is the Schumann resonance spiking affecting you? Is it a positive effect? Is it a negative effect? How is it affecting you? Please let me know in the comments below. It seems to make me tired and lethargic. Again, it's not the space weather today. It's the Schumann resonance spiking all around the globe. Please share, subscribe, and always remember that anything's possible in Bizarro World. God bless you all.